My name is Coach Loubert. I am the head strength coach at Allegiant Gym South Bay, and here's our AMA for Block 9. Thanks to everybody who submitted their questions. Let's get into it. We're going to start off by covering all of the questions that were asked this week on our brand new Practice 4. The first question asks if Practice 4 is going to be the same workout every day. So yes, Practice 4 is always going to be the same workout for the entire block. Just like practices 1, 2, and 3, it's not going to change. So if you were to do it 3 times in 1 week, if you came in Tuesday at noon, Thursday at noon, and then did it again on Saturday or Sunday, it's going to be the same workout every time. So I don't recommend doing that. I just recommend working that in to your practice 1, 2, and 3. So theoretically, if you were to come in 4 times a week, you'd hit all 4 practices. But if you were to come in a 5th time, you're going to repeat either one of those, practice 1, 2, 3, or 4. My next Practice 4 question is about whether or not we will offer Practice 4 at 2 different times on one day on the weekend, either twice on Saturday or twice on Sunday. Nothing's ever out of the question. We have talked about maybe moving Practice 4 to start the day on either Saturday or Sunday, but chances are good that we won't offer it twice in the same day on the weekend. So we won't offer it at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day on Saturday or Sunday. What we already did was listen to your guys' feedback, and we moved team to start at 8 a.m. on Sunday, so then strength at 9, and then Practice 4 at 10. So it's a little bit earlier than it would be on Saturday. And this last Practice 4 question for this block comes from owner and founder Cody Romness, who has already done Practice 4 3 times in the first week and is about to go into his 4th Practice 4 session. He mentioned to me that his readiness, measured by Whoop, is not where he'd like it to be, and so what he should do going into this 4th session of Practice 4 with the intent of doing it for the next 3 weeks as well. So my first suggestion to Cody would be to not do Practice 4 a 4th time in a week and a half. We could just do strength instead. If we were intent on doing a workout today, we could do strength instead of one of the team practices, since he's already done that 3 times this week, and instead of doing Practice 4. And that would probably be the best solution, next to taking a day off. Day offs never hurt, as long as we've gotten our bare minimum of 3 practices in this week. The next best option for wanting to train a 4th time, but having a low readiness or a low overall wellness, would be to do a strength practice instead of doing Practice 4 or one of the team practices. It's just a little bit easier for us to moderate the intensity in those practices. It's a lot of that moderation or constraint is already built in. But Cody had his heart set on doing Practice 4 for a 4th time. He just likes the program that much. So in reality, what we're gonna do is we're gonna lower the intensity of that program, meaning we're not gonna go as heavy on our wave loading for bench, and we're not gonna go as heavy with the conditioning work. So ideally, his heart rate doesn't get as high, his RPE, his rate of perceived exertion at the end of the workout, isn't as high as it was the first 3 times he did it, and hopefully facilitates his ability to recover a little bit more. Another thing Cody could look at doing would be taking stretch online. Stretch would be a great option for him to get some movement in, do some stuff that's actually going to facilitate some recovery, some additional range of motion going into his next workout. It's available at home. It's very detailed. Tim spends a lot of time going over exactly what to do and what we're looking for out of that stretch class. So that's another option, that if you wanted to get a workout in today, but your wellness score is really low, your resting heart rate is high, your heart rate variability is low, if Whoop or Aura or whatever other tool we're using to measure readiness is not where we want it to be, stretch online or on demand is a great option. Just go into your Allegiant app, the video is right there, open that up, you can play it forward, you can pause it. It's all there for you guys to do at home with your significant other, with your kids. It's a really good option for looking to get a 4th or 5th workout in during the week, but not having to leave your house and not doing something that's just going to crush us from a recovery standpoint. Moving away from our Practice 4 questions, the first question that I have here is, if somebody takes a knee pad, an RX pad for your knees in a half kneeling or a tall kneeling position, and Tim is not around to hear it, will they still get bullied? So I don't like to think of it as bullying. I often say Allegiant thrives on peer pressure, but it's positive peer pressure, right? We want the camaraderie in a group training session to help us push past the points that we're comfortable, get some really hard training in, and hold ourselves accountable. So in a lot of ways, what we're doing here is just trying to hold you accountable to push past your pain threshold. And while I'm sure every time somebody grabs an RX pad and puts it on the ground for their soft, tender knees, Tim might not be here to bully you, but he definitely feels it and loses sleep over it at his forced home in the hills of Connecticut. What's the best form of exercise to actively recover from the practice you did the day before? So this question is kind of a trick question. It states very specifically, what's the best form of exercise to help you recover? In reality, exercise is stress. No matter which way you cut it, that's going to not necessarily, maybe we can find a form of exercise that isn't going to hinder your recovery, but I don't know that we can find a form of exercise that's going to help your recovery. So biggest things you can do the day after a practice to help your recovery would be getting 8 hours of quality sleep, drinking half your body weight in ounces of water, eating an adequate amount of protein, so 1 gram per pound of body weight. Those would be the best options for facilitating your recovery without doing an extra workout, and that's going to be what helps you recover. Now, as far as some modalities or some workouts, some training that might not hinder your recovery, this is going to be where we put that long, slow distance cardio in. So going for a walk, especially a walk that includes up and down some big hills, trying to get that heart rate up between 120 and 140 beats per minute, and doing that over the course of 45 minutes to 90 minutes. Other things we could do along those lines, depending on our cardiovascular level, is we could ride a bike. Biking might be hard because depending on where you're doing it and your fitness level, it might wear on your legs a little bit more. Swimming is another great option, especially around here. There's a lot of good options to get into the water to help you facilitate recovery, and it gets your heart rate right where we want it, and it's generally something that we can do for that extended period of time. But any type of activity level where your heart rate isn't getting up into that like 80 to 90% max heart rate zone, but we can continually keep it in more of that fat burning zone, should not bleed into your next practice. It shouldn't hurt your recovery moving forward. And then there are other things that we can do from a modality standpoint that, again, might help facilitate your recovery. I don't know that we would call these a workout, but they might help you recover for that next day. And this would be things like taking the on-demand stretch class. It's in your Allegiant app. Do that, once, twice a week. It's gonna feel like a workout. It's not easy. Tim does a great job of getting into the detail on what he's looking for out of those isometric movements, but that will help facilitate that next session moving forward. Other things we can do, right? Recovery boots, contrast, cold, hot, showers, baths, whatever you have access to might help facilitate some of that recovery. Soft tissue work, whether it's a foam roll or a hypervolt, something like that might help get some blood flow going and get you ready for that next workout. So while it might not feel like a workout, we should be able to put forward 30-ish, 20 to 30 minutes of some type of soft tissue, some active recovery to help get us ready for that practice the next day. My next question talks specifically about the team block and asks me to go into more detail about what wave loading is. So a wave loading protocol is where we go essentially 2 rounds of, in this case, 12-10-8, 12-10-8. That first set of 12 should be like an extended warm-up set where that's gonna be our lightest set of the day, and we should walk away from that set saying, hey, this felt very doable, very easy. Then we're gonna go up for that first set of 10, and then we're gonna go up again for that first set of 8. When we get to that second set of 12, we're gonna drop the weight back down and do what we did for our first set of 10. Then for our second set of 10, we're gonna do what we did for our first set of 8. And then our last set of 8 is gonna be the heaviest that we do that day. Now, the whole idea here is using the weights that first wave to potentiate for that second wave. So by going heavier on that first set of 8 than what we're doing for our second set of 12, that's gonna help the weights ideally feel lighter and hopefully give us more potential to use a heavier weight on that second set of 12, second set of 10, and really get our nervous system fired up for that heavier set of 8. Now the trick here is, like I said, that first set of 12 should feel light, right? Because we've got 5 more sets coming up that are gonna be heavier. So we have to fight our egos here and say, hey, on something like a split squat or a bench press or a pull-up, we probably don't need to use a 5 kilo or a 10 kilo jump. Even though that first set felt really light, we have lots of opportunity to add more weight in the coming sets, the coming weeks, all the way up until week 4, where hopefully we're doing the most weight on that last set of 8 that we've done the whole block. What we kind of saw this first week, and this happens pretty much every time we do wave loading, is that people load too aggressively and they pretty much end up finding an 8 repetition max on week 1 and then wondering what they should do for the remainder of the 3 weeks and how they should go down. I think most of the time, especially on movements like split squat and bench, where we're not using that much total load on those movements anyway, we should, break out the smaller plates, go up by 3 kilos, go up by 2 kilos. Don't feel this need to add 5 or more kilos for every single set, because that's a pretty dramatic 10 to 15 kilo increase over the course of that wave loading. So then on week 2, the idea is that we're gonna take, as long as we chose the appropriate weights, we're gonna take whatever we did for the second wave of 12, 10, 8 in the first week and make that the first wave in our second week. And then same thing for the third week and same week for the fourth week. And that's how we end up at the heaviest weight on that last wave of week 4 for that final set of 8. Now, what we're doing here when I say use that first wave to potentiate the second wave is we're making the central nervous system just, people you might hear on like YouTube or Instagram, we are activating or we're sensitizing the central nervous system. And I don't like any of those words. The central nervous system isn't necessarily ever turned off. What we can do is we can just kind of crank up the sensitivity a little bit, right? So if we get to that first set of 8 and it feels moderately heavy, by the time we go down in weight for that second set of 12, it should feel lighter because our central nervous system is more primed and ready to go. It was never off, it was never on, but those neurons might just be firing a little bit more effectively, a little bit more efficiently, a little bit faster, making those lighter lifts for more volume feel just a little bit easier down the road. For my next question, this person mentions having heard me recommend creatine in the past, but is wondering if it would help or hurt weight loss. So creatine in and of itself isn't going to necessarily help you gain lean body mass, and it's not going to help you improve your body fat percentage. Taking it by itself and not doing the workouts isn't going to help you get to where you want to go. Creatine is literally filling up your creatine stores in the muscle, which the theory there is that if we top off those stores, we should be able to do things like strength training a little bit longer and a little bit harder. And that, over the course of time, will help you increase lean muscle mass, decrease your fat mass, depending on whether you're in a caloric surplus or a caloric deficit, how many workouts you're doing a week, and all of that stuff. The idea is if we don't supplement with something like creatine, and over the course of a workout we completely deplete our phosphocreatine stores within the muscle, it's going to be very hard to push past the threshold of creating some type of an adaptation within that muscle tissue. By making sure that those phosphocreatine stores are topped off at the beginning of a workout, that's going to help us push past the threshold of intensity and volume to cause an adaptation within the tissue. A supplement that would be good specifically for improving your body composition by decreasing body fat would be L-carnitine. L-carnitine is a substance that the body needs to remove stored fat from the fat cells and use it for energy. So if you're not getting enough L-carnitine through your diet, then it's going to be difficult for your body to use that fat as energy. So it's similar to topping off our creatine stores. We want to make sure that those L-carnitine stores are also topped off. And it's not, well, I'm getting enough of this through my diet, so do I need to supplement? Maybe not, but I think chances are good that you're not getting enough of it through your diet, and it won't hurt to add a little bit more on top of it just to make sure that you have your bases covered, especially if your goal is to improve body composition. My next question asks specifically about intermittent fasting. This person mentions that they're training 4 times a week and they want to know if they will be missing out on anything during their workouts by training while fasting. The short answer here is yes. If you are going on a 12 to 16 hour fast, so you slept for 8 hours the night before, you're waking up, you're going through whatever your morning routine might be, you're training, and then you're breaking your fast after training. So we've talked a lot already in this AMA about things like creatine stores, carnitine stores. Anytime we get up after that, even just an 8 hour fast at night, right? A lot of our glycogen stores, our protein stores, our creatine stores may be depleted just from that 8 hour fast, right? That's what the sleeping period is. It's a fast where we're not eating. So in an ideal situation, we would replenish those stores prior to working out. Because similar to what I said with creatine, if you go into a workout without replenishing those stores, there's just gonna be less available fuel for the body to use over the course of that workout. Now, a lot of people feel better working out fasted. A lot of people think that they feel better, more clear-headed starting their workday off in a fasted state. And all of that may be true. And a lot of times you can get great results training while fasted. It's not the results, depending on whether you train fasted or train fed, pretty negligible for most everyday people. It's gonna be a 1 to 2% difference. So I would go off of what you feel best. And if you're going into a workout and you're super hungry, you feel energy depleted, have a little bit of food beforehand. Get some electrolytes in, maybe you do like a green supplement, or even just something with a little bit of carbohydrate like a banana might go a long way in fueling you through that workout and getting you to that first true meal of the day. My next question goes into another supplement, which is magnesium. And this person wants to know the difference between different forms of magnesium. There are a ton of magnesium supplements in the market, which is good because magnesium is probably one of the supplements that people tend to be depleted of or not get enough of through their diet. And it has a lot of uses in different systems of the body, as well as a lot of side effects of not getting enough of. Now, magnesium is a relatively big compound, which is why you see it as a supplement on its own. And it might be in a multivitamin, but it's probably not gonna have enough of that magnesium in the multivitamin to make a difference, which is why, again, it's a supplement on its own. So to answer this question, I'm just gonna go over the 3 that we tend to sell at Allegiate. Magnesium malate functions a little bit more like an electrolyte, and it's probably gonna help us a little bit more with something like delayed onset muscle soreness. So this block 9, our wave loading, is probably a good example of a time where magnesium malate may be a really good supplement to use. I know for myself personally, I've been not getting soreness within the first 12 to 24 hours, but it's really started to hit me in the 24 to 36, maybe even lingering until 48 hours after the workout. And it's really demotivating to try and train 48 hours later when I'm still sore from the previous workout. So there's good potential that by supplementing with some magnesium malate, I might be able to mitigate some of that delayed onset muscle soreness or DOMS and get better recovered for my following workout 48 hours later. The next form of magnesium that we might sell would be magnesium glycinate. Now, this one is not kept in-house, but if you go to allegiategym.com and you click on the supplement store, we offer it drop ship to your door by Designs for Sport. Now, this one is probably one that I would take at night, and it's probably gonna help us with relaxation and improving our quality of sleep. What this one doesn't do is it doesn't do a good job of crossing the blood-brain barrier. And that leads me to my next magnesium supplement, which would be magnesium threonate. So this one does cross the blood-brain barrier. And while it's much more expensive than magnesium glycinate, it is just a lot more effective in producing that relaxation, getting a little bit deeper, more restful sleep at night. It might also give you some really funky dreams. So my general recommendation for people is to try magnesium glycinate first and see how that does. Do you notice falling asleep faster? Do you notice being less stressed, more relaxed? Do you notice any very vivid, funky dreams? If you're not getting the results you want, then pay for the more expensive magnesium threonate. It's gonna cross the blood-brain barrier. It's a little bit more stronger, more potent results. And again, maybe that's too much. Maybe those dreams really screw up our sleep pattern and we don't like that feeling and we need to go back to the magnesium glycerate. With either one of these, don't expect necessarily immediate results either. Just like we've been talking about with a lot of these other supplements, it takes time to build up these stores. So it might take a week of building up your magnesium stores to where we really notice a difference. And then if you get off of it for a little while, the positive effects may linger until those stores become depleted. So with so much of this stuff, we're just trying to stock up and store some of these substances so that the stores within the body are topped off at all times and we're never depleted in a substance the body wants to use. There are a ton of other magnesium supplements out there. A lot of them, like magnesium, generally speaking, is a laxative, so some of them help with digestive problems and things like that. The 3 that I mentioned are generally pretty gut friendly, so it shouldn't have that effect. But be mindful of what you take out there and just know that it's also a laxative. What is the must-haves for a garage gym? This is a really interesting question to ask somebody who works in a business that is a brick and mortar gym. So the only reason that you should build out a garage gym is if you don't live in the greater LA area. Otherwise, you should just come to an Allegiant facility. We already have the stuff, we have the program, we have the coaching, and we have the camaraderie and the atmosphere to help you get where you want to go. People think all the time that building out a garage gym in their garage or in their basement is going to help facilitate and make it easier for them to work out. Oftentimes what they find is that they do that, they build it out, and then they don't know what to do, or they have such, just as much of a hard time going down to the basement or out to the garage to get their workout in, and then that stuff just becomes a really expensive coat hanger and just collects dust. By training at Allegiant, like I said, you already have the equipment, you've got the program, you've got the coaches, and you've got the people, the relationships, the camaraderie to hold you accountable to going into your session. So that's the best option. However, if you do live outside of the LA area and you're looking to build out your garage gym, outside of a squat rack, an adjustable bench, and a barbell, I'd highly recommend that you get some tools like an adjustable dumbbell set. So fixed dumbbells can be really expensive. In our private training area in all 3 of our Allegiant locations, we have adjustable dumbbells where the handle is a 5 kilo handle and we can load plates on just like we would a barbell. That's one way to do it. Those tend to be a little bit more inexpensive, definitely than a fixed barbell set or some of the nicer adjustable dumbbells like Power Blocks or the Bowflex ones. Nuo Bells is a new product that's come out where those things go from 5 to 80 pounds, but they're like $800, which is still cheaper than getting a full fixed dumbbell set, but is a pretty hefty price point. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot more that I'd say you need. Something like a dip bar is nice to have, but it's a one-use piece of equipment. Not a whole lot of other exercises that you can do on your dip bar, but it's a nice thing to have. It's a great variation to have. That's why we like something like an adjustable bench, especially if it's flat, incline, or decline, so that you have a lot of uses out of that one product. That's why a squat rack is great, is because you can do a lot of different things within that squat rack. A squat rack with a pull-up bar is even better because it's probably safer than a wall-mounted pull-up bar, but it makes that squat rack even more multifunctional. Other little things you can get, bands are always great, good multi-use product. Slides are another good option. You can do a lot of different things with the little either carpet or rubber sliders like we have at Allegiant, and it's a relatively inexpensive product. But really that would be like the fundamental stuff for you to get to build out your home gym, and then ask us to build you a digital program. We have a online digital training platform where you get assigned a coach. That coach has meetings with you once a month to go over the program and any goals that might change, or whatever, the equipment that you have available to you in your garage and the space that you have, and they write out that custom program for you to do on a monthly basis. The next question asks, how long is my hair? This is how long my hair is. It's not the longest it's ever been, but it's probably getting pretty close. That's it. Probably in between the shoulder blades. All right, my last 2 questions are user submitted and they left their Instagram handles attached to it. As a side note, I always think it's good to leave your Instagram handle, especially if you're gonna ask how long my hair is, so that I can call you out and it's not anonymous. You should own a question like that. This question comes from the Instagram handle ericisglobal, and they want to know if Allegiant is ready for their comeback. ericisglobal, I don't know who you are, but I'm sure that the coaches in Santa Monica will be absolutely thrilled to have you back in their classes. And my last question for the Block 9 AMA comes from Emabate, who wants to know, when we will be doing dips again. So it sounds like you already had this question answered by doing practice 3 of the blog, but we do have dips in practice 3 of this blog. It's paired up with deadlifts. You're going 5 sets of 8 to 10 reps, which for a lot of our members will probably just be, hey, however many dips you can do for 5 sets with a 2-count tempo on the way down. As always with dips, the best way to get better at them is to do a slower eccentric to start. If we can't do any concentric, jump up, straighten out the arms, control yourself on the way down. If we can only get 5 to 6 reps of that, keep doing 5 to 6 reps of that until we can't control that eccentric anymore. The other option, other than doing dips, would be to do push-ups. Push-ups are probably the next best thing to try and get better at doing dips, or at least get to a point where we can control that eccentric. Doing something like a bench dip where our feet are flat on the ground and our hands are back behind us really just puts a lot of stress on that shoulder joint. So while it might be a little bit more conducive to learning to do dips or getting stronger at dips than a push-up might be, the risk versus reward just isn't there. It goes into a lot of things as far that we believe in here at Allegiate, like using a double overhand grip on movements like deadlifts and RDLs, where sure, we could use more weight if we used an alternate grip, but the risk versus reward isn't there. That's how you tear a bicep tendon. So it's not necessarily about the weight that you do, it's about your tempo, your technique, and trying to train consistently for 50 weeks out of the year, 3 times a week. Those are gonna be the things that's important. Even if you were to do dips with a weight belt on and overload that eccentric down, even if you have to jump to get back up, that's gonna help you build towards being able to do multiple repetitions on a dip bar a lot faster than anything else, whether it's push-ups or doing bench dips. Big shout out to South Bay member Bobby Nader, Bobaran on Instagram. He won our referral challenge for the Chargers tickets this season. So shout out to Bobby, enjoy that Chargers game. We had a lot of questions this AMA about supplements. Some deals we're running right now in the South Bay on supplements. We have our Elite Sleep from Momentous that is currently 50% off. The thing with these is that they are about to expire in October, which is why they're 50% off, but it's a great deal on Elite Sleep. Elite Sleep is gonna help you fall asleep faster and hopefully get deeper, more restful sleep. So it's a good product to use if we're struggling with that, or if we're traveling to a different time zone and we're looking to get adjusted to that sleep schedule a little bit faster. The other deal we have is for immune support. It's specifically geared to parents whose kids are about to go back to school and bring home a whole bunch of nasty diseases. So this is gonna include multivitamin, zinc, and vitamin D. However, we're gonna give you the zinc and vitamin D for the cost of just the multi. So it's gonna save you $32-something. So get that, prepare your immune systems for those kids going back to school and touching everything and putting their hands in their mouths. So that wraps up our Block 9, Ask Me Anything. Thank you for everybody who submitted their questions. A lot of questions, a lot of good questions, specifically on things like supplements, certain movements, and the loading protocol and team. We appreciate all of those questions. We look forward to our AMA for Block 10.